Since the Retroid Pocket 5 was announced about 9 months ago, I have famously not taken a look at it yet, but here it is. It's sitting right here on my desk, and I finally got a chance to actually dig into it a little bit, and I was very surprised. What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospec. Today we're going to find out what the Retroid Pocket 5 is actually all about, as well as a new software update it just got while I was in the middle of filming this. We might as well bring that up too. Let's take a look. As a fan of the Retroid Pocket Flip, I felt I had to get the Retroid Pocket Flip 2 on day one. I know this is mostly the RP5 with the hinge, and I was personally questioning its performance, as I didn't know exactly what I was going to get out of it, as it really doesn't look like a generational leap on paper from the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro. Needless to say, I'm impressed. The Flip 2 ended up being far more capable than I assumed it would be. Needless to say, I was wrong, and I can admit when I was wrong, and in this case, I definitely was. So when AliExpress reached out to me with an opportunity to look at the elusive Retroid Pocket 5, I took them up on it. There's currently some great deals on the RP5 on AliExpress for their summer sale right now. It gave me an opportunity to get my viewers some additional discount codes, which are down there in my thingamabob, and those will save you some extra money. Now, this handheld was supplied by AliExpress for a fair and honest review, and as always, all the opinions are of my own. I did order the now famous grip and a screen cover for the RP5 on my own to get the full experience. So you can imagine my surprise when I opened the handheld and found that there was already a screen cover in the box. With the all-glass front end of the RP5, the fingerprints will drive me absolutely crazy. Like other devices, like say your cell phone, with a screen cover over it, and this one happens to stretch from end to end, you get far fewer fingerprints with the screen cover installed. And what that does is it creates a different type of coating surface, so you're not actually getting as smudgy. Keep in mind, it's not the easiest screen cover to install, as it does mold around the buttons and what have not, but it's worth doing if you can get it right. I was fortunate enough to get it on the first try, so now I have all these extra screen covers I ordered because I thought I was going to make mistakes, and I didn't know they were going to be included in the box. So I'm getting this cover on. We're going to go through just a couple of specs here real quick. I don't want to go through everything because I think that's probably been beaten to death, but with the Retroid Pocket 5, you don't just get the crispy display, but you also get a Snapdragon 865 processor as well. Now this might sound like an old-tired processor. I know it did to me. I have the original Odin Pro, which came with a Snapdragon 845 processor a couple of years before the release of the Retroid Pocket 5, so I pretty much assumed I had exhausted every tweak that I possibly could for this SoC, and I was very wrong. There's a lot to this that you can do that wasn't part of that. Now you do get your video out and things like that, all that important stuff, but I do have all the specs up here on the screen for you right now, so if you want to take a screenshot, or if you're one of those people with one of those cool photographic memories, you can do that as well. But I really quickly want to get into some of the gameplay and some of the things you should expect with this handheld that I had seen the videos, but I still didn't expect them to work the way that they did. But before we get into the gameplay, I just want to talk about how much of a game changer this grip is. I know I just said it was like the famous game-changing grip or whatever it was, but this grip here changes the way this handheld feels. I had a hard time getting into this handheld to begin with, and I had touched one and held one, and the reason why I never really got into it or reviewed it is very hard for me to play this handheld like this. You pretty much need to play it on your fingertips without the grip. And the reason being is the left joystick's in the wrong spot. I know there's going to be some discourse and some arguments down here in my comment section about this, but my theory is if you're going to play 3D games like the PS2 or more with a handheld like this, you need at minimum the left joystick to be on top. And this is one thing that they got right with the Retroid Pocket Flip 2, is both of our joysticks are on top, where the Flip 1 they were on the bottom. Now this makes sense with the progression of the SoCs and becoming more powerful and maybe doing some more retro gaming that's more modern here on the Flip 2. So that to me makes sense, and they did move them to the top, and that is fine. That works great. It's exactly how it should be. If you're going to do what I'm going to do with this and try to push it to its limits with Nintendo Switch, lots of PS2, some PS3 emulation we have on here now, and some Wii U, it makes absolutely no sense to have your D-pad on top. I know there's again going to be arguments about that, but it just doesn't make sense because I'm not really using the D-pad for anything but changing weapon categories. At that point, if I'm playing a first-person shooter, or maybe I'm pulling out some kind of little handbag or something, if I'm playing some action-adventure platformer, there's really no reason to have that D-pad right there. And that was a big part of why I didn't get this device at first. I thought that was silly that they did that. In fact, that was the number one reason prior to me even holding the device. Then I held it and I realized that these ergonomic bumps back here don't do really anything, and I had stopped using my RP4 Pro because it just wasn't comfortable to use. And I even got grips for that, and it just never got comfortable. Now here we have a grip that officially came out from Retroid. This Retroid grip here is a game changer. It really does change the way that you hold onto this device. It does slip in very easily, and you have full control. It doesn't feel sloppy or anything like that, and it is loose enough where you can pop it in and out as much as you want. Now, unfortunately, this does make it unpocketable for the most part because this is a lot to put in your pocket with these big old bumps on the back. But now that you got a booty, and she feels good in the hands. Now, that doesn't make the D-pad in a better spot, but it is more usable now because your hands are actually sliding down on the device for where you're holding onto it. You're not holding it up on top anymore. Now you are holding it closer to the center to the bottom. And in that case, you can get away with having the D-pad on the bottom. So this maybe should have been an initial design, but now it looks suspiciously like an Anbernic device, which if the Retroids have been more powerful, the Anbernics have had the ergonomics correct the whole time. And everybody thought this looked so goofy when it came out till they used it, and this is one of the most comfortable handhelds on the market. This is the Anbernic RG556. You do have a very similar form factor now once you add this grip, and it does give it that same comfort. That is one of the biggest things the 556 has going for it is the ergonomics. I love playing this handheld just because it is so comfortable. Now this has its own stick issues, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So now we have the RP5, and it is comfortable to use for me. And it wasn't before, and now it is, and now I can't stop playing this handheld. I really like it, and I have a couple other handhelds I'm working on right now, but I found myself actually playing this more than I am recording the footage that I need for this video because I'm just having fun with it. And I really like the flip still. Nothing has changed there. In fact, I would argue the flip is more pocketable because it does close the screen off. And when it's all closed up, the device is smaller, sort of, but it is also a lot thicker. So there's that. But it's not long and thick like this becomes with the grip on it. So pocketability maybe isn't the most important thing to you. Like, I do actually carry an EDC bag. I'm one of those people who is not afraid to carry a Mantula around. And this fits in there obviously very well because I can fit even my Lenovo Legion Go in there. So no problem fitting this in there, even with my Legion Go actually. Sort of, you got to kind of do this weird Jenga puzzle, but you can get them both in there and with the grip on. And I would prefer to play this no other way than with the grip. Now, the grip is a separate cost, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me on the grip idea. And so you just have to take it with what's right for you. This is the right solution for me. Maybe you want it without the grip, and it does make it significantly smaller without the grip. And I'm sure that's why they designed it the way they did, but it did get designed with some very, very poor ergonomics. Well, let's move on from the ergonomics here real quick, and we're going to talk about a couple of things with this device. Again, without going through the entire I/O, but just some things that I think that are important when it comes to purchasing this. And these are going to be maybe some of my kind of nitpicks of it, as they're obviously not preventing me from using the device. So first we'll touch on the software update that we had that actually came out while I was in the middle of recording this, and that was to fix the atrocious audio problems that this device had. And I will be happy to report that it did fix them. Prior to that, we were using an application called James DSP. It was an audio fix app for the audio. I don't know if it tells me what the fix is on here exactly if I go back into it, but we can find out if we can look at the changelog here, and I can tell you exactly, hopefully, what it does fix. Okay, so this version of the software does audio framework enhancements, applied Qualcomm smart amplifier patch to optimize speaker performance, fixed audio channel imbalance bug. So your left speaker and right speaker were different volumes. I believe it was your left speaker that was really quiet. It removed the hardware level JDSP EQ parameters to eliminate bass audio glitches. So there was no bass, it was just all highs before. And it fixed low volume in-game emulators by optimizing internal audio paths. Synchronized Qualcomm charging parameters to prevent voltage spikes. So there was some voltage spikes issues, and it addressed system reboots triggered by inserting specific memory cards. And I have had that happen with me on two different memory cards I put in here where the system decides to reboot. Now, I didn't think it was the biggest deal because, sure, it reboots, but then it's just right back to where it was. And that only happened to me when I'd put the card in. So if you've ever used old Android, you used to have to restart Android devices every time you put a card in because the device wouldn't recognize the card until it was rebooted, similar to some old computers. So to me, that wasn't that big of a deal, but people who've grown up using Android, and more modern Android especially, probably was a little bit of an annoyance. Now, as far as the device itself goes, outside of our comfortability, this is a very good device as far as our joysticks and things like that go. Controls are pretty good on this device. I really love these joysticks. Retroid and AYN use these joysticks in all kinds of different devices now, and they are phenomenal. In fact, I just got an extra set of these Retroid joysticks for my Odin Portal because it is these colors and I wanted the yellow for the right side. So when I ordered accessories for this device, I actually ordered extra joysticks as well just to get the yellow one. The D-pad on here is responsive. It's very tactile. It is very responsive. The buttons do have a very quick rebound, which is pretty awesome. I cannot complain at all about that. So they do work well. But again, they are just very loud. Some of the other buttons that are loud here is we do have our start and select and our home and back buttons. Also pretty loud buttons that are on here. The other thing with the face buttons on here, and I haven't heard anybody really talk about this, I think they're separated a little bit too far. It's going to sound really weird, but they're almost like the Nintendo Switch where they gapped them just a little bit more than they should have. And when you do that, I'd almost like to see a bigger button So it just feels, it's not a natural feel going from button to button. There is just maybe millimeters worth of extra space in here, and you kind of get hooked between them sometimes. And so I think a couple millimeters closer and or just making the buttons just slightly bigger would have fixed this problem. So just something for the nitpicky of us, but something for Retroid maybe to look at in the future with devices. This isn't the first time I've run into this with their devices, but this is the first time it's been as noticeable as it is, particularly on this device. Part of that is the face buttons do sit up pretty high, and we kind of looked at that here when we were looking at this, but when we were looking in to see how the rebound was. But once you do put that screen cover on like I have here, even though it's only millimeters thick, it actually takes some of that height out. And it does feel actually better with the screen cover on, because it does have that fast rebound, but now you're not actually pushing down as far as you're getting hooked up on the screen cover itself. And then the only other real gripe I have about this, and this was a problem I had with the Retroid Pocket 4 as well, is that it sounds like an airplane taking off when you have the fan on high. So if you can hear that, that is all fan. And that's not even the fan on high. That's on high performance. That's on, the fan is on sport. So that seems pretty crazy to me that the fan is that loud. And that was one of my biggest complaints about the Retroid Pocket 4 Pro when I first started using it, aside from the ergonomics, and it is still a problem. Now we're going to put on our grip here. This is very simple. And then we are going to do a little bit of gameplay. And some things you can expect from this device is lots of things in lots of categories as far as systems go when it comes to PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube, even PS3. You can do some light Xbox 360 modifications if you want to run Linux on here, as well as some additional PS3 emulation on the Linux side. But then you also can run PC games, which has been kind of my kick lately. Outside of Switch, I like to try to emulate PC games just because it takes a lot more to get them to work, and a lot of tweaking, and I enjoy the tweaking as much, if not more, than actually playing the games themselves. So we have multiple different ways that we can access our Steam library in particular on here after we do a little bit of gameplay footage. So I don't want to take up too much of your time with emulation, but I did want to try something, and it worked actually better than I thought it was going to, so I'm going to show it to you. But here I am, I'm playing Crysis Remastered, the Steam version, through GameHub natively on the Retroid Pocket 5. So what I did here, and I can show you, I'm in medium settings right now, which is crazy to me that we're able to do this in medium settings. But if we go under AV here, we go to advanced, we can see that we're in medium settings across the board, and we're still able to play this game. This is one of the things I'm talking about where I like to just push things to where they probably shouldn't work, but you can get them to work. Now, the only problem with playing on a screen this size is it is kind of hard to aim on this game. Which this game's always been kind of hard to aim anyways, but that just gives you a little bit of a ballpark of what this thing is capable of. As somebody who has all the Odin 2 devices, I really just was struggling to see why I'd want to get the Retroid Pocket 5, especially because I just wasn't a big fan of the ergonomics, and that was just a really simple thing. But minus a few little tweaky things that we talked about, it really is a well put together device. And with the Pocket 5 now in hand, I understand that these devices are completely different from each other, and they're probably made for different people, or weird people like me, which, hey, all my weirdos. The Retroid Pocket 5 brings more into play that I've been missing this entire time, and that is tinkering. See, a big part of the joy for me in these handhelds isn't always playing the games. Yes, playing the games does become the biggest part, or sometimes becomes the biggest part, but I really enjoy making things work when people tell me that I can't. The Retroid Pocket 5 introduces some of that back into my gaming experience. I am one who can spend countless hours trying different solutions in order to unlock a playable experience, just so I can turn around and share those changes with you, the viewer, so you can better enjoy those experiences. The most front-of-mind Retroid handheld that's really left a mark on me outside of the Retroid Pocket Flip is the Retroid Pocket 2S. I spent hundreds of hours playing and tweaking the 2S to get one more frame, or in some cases, just to get a game to load. The 2S is a magical device in that way, and something I hadn't experienced in other Retroid devices again, until now. Definitely worth not sleeping on is the Retroid Pocket 5. It is a phenomenal little piece of machinery, and I'm glad that it is exactly the way that it is. And its imperfectness is what makes it perfect. It makes me want to play it even more and find different ways to play it that will make it more comfortable and also make new games play. So I think it's pretty awesome. Definitely a recommend on my list, and in fact, I could easily recommend it over some of the higher end devices, as it will play a lot of the same things. You just might have to play with it more, which is kind of the point. So in closing, I'd say minus the couple tweaky little things that are kind of more of annoyances than they are actually hindering the device from working itself, this is a very well thought out, very well put together handheld that I can easily recommend to anybody. Thank you again, AliExpress, for providing the handheld for my purpose of review, and also for giving me extra codes for my viewers here during the summer sale. All that stuff will be found down in my thingamabob. You can easily pick up any of my codes, as well as yourself a Retroid Pocket 5 if you are like me and have been sleeping on it this whole time. But that's all I got for you today. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends, because sharing is caring. Also, sharing helps grow the channel. Really, it is our biggest grower here. I know I say it all the time. Just share it with your friends. It'll be very helpful to everybody. Also, hit one of these videos up here on the top. Google did pick that for you. They did all the work. I didn't have to do anything. They decided what videos are going to best work with what you like to watch, and I am not here to tell Google no, or tell them that they're wrong. So they're obviously going to be videos you're going to want to see. But that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye!